and welcome back to another episode on Born to Talk with Callanthea. So, today's episode is about overcoming insecurity, and I really wanted to be able to do this one because not only have I experienced insecurity and sometimes still do experience insecurity, I really do feel that it's something that people don't really talk about much. And when you are feeling insecure, you kind of keep it in and keep it to yourself. And I really want, if you are listening to this, I want you to feel like one, that you're not alone in feeling insecure and that it's completely normal and in fact completely really common, really prevalent, not just in society but just the world at large, right? So many people feel insecure. In fact, probably everyone or near enough everyone has felt insecure at some point. So just knowing that you're not alone, I think can be quite reassuring. But also I really want to kind of go through some common examples of when people do feel insecure, again, to make it feel relatable, but to also give you that sense of hope, that sense of light at the end of the tunnel, which sometimes it can be quite a dark place if you get really insecure and it's something that keeps coming up over and over and over again for you. It can feel really difficult to get out of, but there is absolutely hope because I've struggled with this massively before, and I will talk about that later on. But yeah, I just kind of want to do this to give you some hope, give you some inspiration, and hopefully give you some tips as well as to how to kind of make a start on your healing journey when it comes to your insecurity, right? Giving yourself some stability, some security within, and learning to kind of accept yourself as well and being confident in who you are and just being authentic. So, that being said, then, let's get started. Okay, so when we're thinking about insecurity, okay, what even is insecurity? To me, insecurity is when we have certain thoughts that kickstart a feeling that really sort of control us and make us feel inadequate in some way. And we could feel inadequate about a whole range of things. It completely just depends on the person. But I really do think that insecurity does start with our thoughts, right? If we have a negative thought about ourselves, then that turns into a feeling, and then we feel really bogged down by it, especially if we are focusing on it quite often. Quite often we feel insecure when no one's even given us a reason to feel insecure. It's just our own perception of ourselves in certain situations, right? Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes other people are the ones to bring us down. And I've experienced both. And like I said, I will mention a little bit about that later on. But just thinking about insecurity, what are those common ways that people feel insecure? And I was thinking about this one, and a really obvious one that springs to mind is physical appearance. Right? We seem to be so obsessed in this society, thinking about how we look and everyone's getting fake hair, fake nails, fake eyelashes, lip fillers, everything, right? And I know some people might say, well, that's not an insecurity issue, that's just people wanting to enjoy doing that sort of stuff to the face and whatnot. But I really do feel that we're just getting so obsessed with physical appearance that it must be really, really hard for young people to grow up in this day and age now. It's like with all the filters that we have and airbrushing, social media, people's lives seem to be so good. They seem to look so good. But, a really nice photo might have taken 100 shots plus a few filters. So, it's not really real. And I do think that we're holding ourselves to a higher standard. And it's just not okay. So I think people do feel really insecure about their physical appearance, even if it's just when you're growing up, right? And you're starting to get spotty. You can feel insecure about that because your hormones, right, causing all these spots. If you're gaining weight, for example, lockdown. I gained weight during lockdown. Loads of people gained weight during lockdown, and we can start to feel insecure just because we've gained weight. And, it might be a certain feature that we have as well that we don't particularly like about ourselves. And it's so easy, isn't it, just to focus on the things that we don't like rather than actually looking at ourselves holistically and thinking, but what do I like about myself, right? There's so many reasons to like who I am and so many features that I have that are absolutely brilliant. Why can't I celebrate those? But we do sort of hold ourselves to account and really focus on our physical appearance. So I know that's a massive, massive one. And if you're listening to this, maybe you're thinking now, like, yep, that's me. I feel, insecure about a certain physical aspect that I've got. And I sympathize with you massively. And I think that a lot of people, like really a lot of people, are insecure when it comes to their physical appearance, whether it's just a little bit of insecurity or a really big insecurity. But I want to say it's normal. It shouldn't be normal, but it is normal. So if you're at that point right now, don't beat yourself up over it, okay? Lots of people are in their heads and worried about the way that they look, okay? So it is kind of normal in that sense. Um, and then I was thinking, some people get really insecure about their personality. Maybe they don't feel like they fit in, okay? Especially young people, we really kind of want a clique, right? When we're young and we want a group of friends and trying to fit in with other people, sometimes you might feel like you're not enough or people don't particularly like you or warm to you. And that can be quite an insecure place, We are human, we want to connect with others, we want to be accepted, and that's completely understandable. But to the detriment of what? Do we really have to lose ourselves in order to be accepted? I mean, I don't think so. I think that we should be able to be ourselves completely. But again, that's something that lots of people will sort of put their mask on, so to speak, when they are around certain people. And it's really sad, but even I've had to experience that. Not so much when I was a teenager, thankfully. I was very confident and assertive and pretty self assured as a teenager. I had some insecurities, but for the most part, my personality, I was very self assured. But as I've got older, when you're interacting, whether it's with work colleagues or something else, it's like you can sometimes wear a mask because you feel like you can't be your true best self around these people. And sometimes you just kind of want to fit in or you feel like you don't fit in, so you just remain quiet. And, that can be quite an insecure place to be. So I completely sympathize again if you're going through something like that. We can even get insecure about our capabilities, right? Our skill set, our intellectual capabilities, I've heard a few people sort of mention about not having a degree and feeling a little bit inadequate about that, or assuming that they're stupid just because they don't have a degree. And I think that that's ridiculous. There's plenty of people who've got degrees who don't act very smart. Maybe had a little bit of help doing their coursework and essays and things like that. So yeah, no, I just think that people do feel insecure about a whole range of things, but surprisingly, even just like feeling like out of depth in your knowledge, if you've ever started a new job somewhere and you know that you don't know everything there, that can be quite an insecure place. We can lack confidence. But again, it's completely normal. Like why would we feel confident if we don't have all the knowledge? But to feel insecure about it, I think that's where we need to sort of recognize, look, we are human, we're all equal. And if someone else can understand this, if someone else can do this, then why can't I? And give yourself time to learn it and master it and support yourself in that and encourage yourself if no one else is going to encourage you. So yeah, people do get insecure about lots of things, and especially when we are comparing ourselves to others in many, many ways. So it might be physical appearance, it might be skill set, it might be what someone has and that we feel like we are lacking or not doing enough, in the world or don't have enough in the world. Whatever it may be, we can get insecure about lots of things. And they sprung to mind because of not just, people that I've spoken to, but just my general experience as well. And it's just so clear that these are the things that seem to be taking a hold on everyone at some point in our lives to make us feel insecure. And it's really up to us to sort of work on that and get through it and come out stronger and come out, being our own best friend and our own champion. So they're just a few examples of what I see as the really common sort of ways to feel insecure and why people feel insecure. again, I'm hoping that if you listen to this, you recognize that you are absolutely not alone. There will be absolutely loads of people that will have the same insecurities as you. And even the people that seem to have it all, there will be something that they are insecure about, whether it's their finances, their health, their physical appearance, their family. We can get insecure about so many things. Background is a big one, right? People get insecure about their background. If you're really poor, or, you didn't have a nice home to grow up in, you can get quite insecure about that. And unfortunately, when we get insecure, if that sort of fear holds us back, then it leads us to be inauthentic. It can lead us to lie to people, and to hide away. So I do think that it's important that we're able to work on it and become better in ourselves. So I'm going to share some examples of my insecurity that I've experienced over the years. And we can probably all relate to some of these, maybe. And as we know, some insecurities really do stem from childhood. And when I was little, I was very, very insecure when it came to handing in my work, drawing a picture. I was the kid with the pencil and the rubber, constantly rubbing out. It was never enough. And I just felt really sort of exposed and vulnerable, like the work that I'd done was just not good enough. So I didn't want the teacher to see. And I actually got a certificate at primary school when we were leaving for the most, what was it? It was worded something like the most work inside a drawer not handed in. It was something like that. Because I literally kept all my work inside my little like drawer. I didn't like handing it in because I just didn't want the teachers to see it. I just felt very inadequate and not good enough. And I know that stemmed from, being little and, from my dad, right? Definitely from my dad. Um, just not being good enough. And I think that's such a shame because when, you're a young kid, it really does feel like your whole world is kind of hanging on an edge, right? When you're feeling like that and you just don't want anyone to put a magnifying glass to you. But as an adult, to look back and really sort of see my insecure self as a young, vulnerable child, like it's honestly heartbreaking. And it's so sad that I did experience that. And guess what? I never spoke about it. I just wanted to keep it all inside and just hope nobody would notice. And I'll just keep rubbing my work out and, hopefully people will leave me alone because I just genuinely didn't think that I could do anything. When it came to creativity, especially, sometimes I'd try and look over to see what my friends are doing because, they were really confident and I needed to have some idea. So I thought, oh, if I could take their idea, then I might be on the right lines. And yeah, just not really trusting myself. And I think that led to a lot of insecurity. And I had that at primary school, but that definitely, definitely carried through with me right up until, well, definitely through secondary school, a little bit until college. But yeah, I would definitely say that as an adult, I started to kind of move away from that. But yeah, so that was like one insecurity that I had as a young child. So obviously, that wasn't about physical appearance, that was literally about my abilities and feeling like I'm not good enough. And I know it's really sad, but that was an experience that I had. I also did have physical sort of appearance issues. So when you're little, especially as a girl, um, you want to shave your legs, right? Because you see everyone shaving their legs, the Venus razor adverts and everything else. And there was an older, I said woman, she was a child actually, but like a teenager. There was an older teenager in the family at the time. Um, and she made a comment about my hairy legs. Bearing in mind I was probably about like 8 or 9 years old. And she was like talking to me like it was disgusting, like, ew, hairy legs, shave them. And I just remember feeling like so disgusting and like I needed to hide away. And I asked my mum if I could shave, and she said no, I was too young. But soon enough, I did start shaving, and it led me to shave every single time I got in the bath. It was just ridiculous. Just like I had the tiniest amount of hair showing, and I'm like, it had to go. So just constantly shaving, feeling like I'm gross. Having hairy legs, I've got to shave them. And then as a teenager, one of my friends at the time, I know obviously we were young and stupid, but she used to mock me for having like really pale legs. because, I'm quite white, and it's like, it's just a skin color, but, it'd be summer and I'd have shorts or a skirt on, and it'd be like, oh my God, your legs are so milky and pasty and yucky and horrible. And again, that really hurt me and upset me. So guess what I did? I started covering up my legs more and feeling insecure about getting them out and getting the sun on them, even though all I wanted to do was get the sun on them. And yeah, it was just really, really horrible to sort of experience that. But again, I think we've all been there. There's been someone that's made an unkind comment about a physical trait that we've got or something like that. And yeah, so those sort of experiences carried me through right up until secondary school for definite, lacking in creativity, feeling not really lacking in creativity, I guess, not having confidence and not wanting to speak out in class, and not really wanting the teacher to choose me to answer a question, and not wanting them to see my work, and not wanting to show my legs and all of that. I was just so insecure in those areas. The only thing that I wasn't really insecure in, especially as a teenager, was my personality. I pretty liked my personality. I was very confident in who I was, but just in those other areas, I carried that insecurity with me. And again, it did carry through a little bit until adulthood. And I sort of had to learn to kind of move away from that. And it took me quite a long time. I mean, in my 20s, that was a massive growth spurt for me, just mentally, spiritually, just really trying to figure things out, letting go of stuff that no longer serves me. But even as an adult, in 2015, I had this other insecurity that came over me, and this wasn't really brought on by anyone else. This was kind of just brought on by myself, really. And I was comparing myself to everyone in the media and just how society was. Like 2015 was a big shift in society compared to 2010, even. At least it felt like that for me. So I'd finished university, getting my first job, all of that, had a boyfriend, and he was really nice. But I had this massive insecurity within, thinking that, again, that I wasn't good enough, but I wasn't nice to look at, and that I was ugly and everything else. And it really, really got to me. Like, I'm talking like crying a lot, feeling sick to my stomach, just feeling really shit to be me. And just hating the way that I looked and recognizing that I'm fucking ugly and plain in comparison to all these hot girls out there. And, everyone's wearing this perfect makeup and they've contoured their face, there's filters now. And oh my God, I think it just hit me, just like the big shift in society with that. And noticing that all these other girls just seem to look the same, but they looked hot, right? Just because of that unconscious bias, I guess, when we're looking at the media all the time, you just sort of start to normalize all this makeup on a woman's face. And I think it's a massive shame, obviously, but that really, really got to me. I even had like this reading done by this woman, and oh my God, she was amazing. And one of the things she actually picked up on was my insecurity. And she said that she felt this awful feeling in her stomach of insecurity. And I said, that's literally how I feel. And she said, oh, you are trying to heal yourself, though. You're trying to help yourself. And, I could see she was, feeling quite compassionate towards me. And, I think I knew deep down that I would get through it, but it felt like a big black hole. Like, oh, I'm never going to be good enough. I'm always going to be unattractive. And even though I had a boyfriend, I think I just really felt that uncomfortable feeling that every guy that I'm with will just want someone else because they're a lot better looking than me. And why would they want to stay with me? So that was really, really hard. But interestingly, even though I felt insecure about the way that I looked, I didn't want to do what all these other women and girls were doing, wearing loads of makeup. I've never agreed on wearing loads of makeup. I've never liked to wear loads of makeup. Um, having fake eyelashes and fake lips and fake hair and everything. I never ever was drawn to that, and I never cared for it. And it's awful, but I do think that many women who do that are insecure, and maybe they will say that they're not, but I don't believe it for a second. I think most of those women absolutely are insecure, and they're doing it because it's a way to sort of feel like you fit in and belong if everyone else is doing that. But it definitely isn't showing security within; it's showing insecurity. So I am kind of proud of myself that despite feeling that insecure and comparing myself to everyone all the time, that I didn't give in to that sort of stuff. And I stayed looking my natural self. Didn't want to actually change my natural self. I guess I just wanted to see myself in a different light. And that's when I read that book that I mentioned earlier, I Heart Me, and that was really good. And then I did watch a few YouTube videos as well, like Brendan Burchard on YouTube, just to kind of like understand how thoughts work and try to interrupt those thoughts, and also understand just our need for acceptance, but kind of a healthy way to look at it and recognizing that we still need to be authentic and we still just need to love ourselves. So that was part of my journey, and 2015 was really, really tough. But by 2016, I was feeling so much better. Like I'd listened to so many wise people. I was listening to lots of good songs that were uplifting, and all of that truly, truly helped. So I'll give some of those tips actually in a moment. But yeah, I managed to get through a really dark phase in my life, as a young adult. It was really, really difficult. But the fact that I feel so much better now, I've never gone back to that dark place of insecurity. Like occasionally I might feel a bit down on myself, and I think that's completely normal. But literally, I was so bad, in such a bad place, and to kind of come out of that and feel like, no, I am good enough and I'm not ugly, and it's great that I accept the way that I look, and that I don't want to change the way that I look, with fake stuff, and a guy will like me for me, and it's just be confident. You can do it. You can be in a relationship, in a healthy relationship, and feel good about yourself. So I had to sort of reshift my mind. But like I said, it took probably just under a year really to sort of see that massive progress, but it is absolutely possible. So if you are listening to this thinking, you know what, I can kind of relate to some of that, like I get insecure when I'm in a relationship, I get insecure about my appearance or whatever it may be, you absolutely can get through it. So I have been vulnerable there. I have shared a few of my insecurities that I've had and experienced. Like I said, I'm not like perfect and without any insecurity, but I honestly just don't feel that insecurity is an issue in my life. And that's because I have overcome so much. And that I understand it, and I kind of have the strength just to kind of, yeah, whatever, it's just a bad day. I'm just going to let it go. Like, I don't focus on it if I do feel insecure. Actually, I wanted to mention obviously my insecurities that I had when I was younger. So the creativity issue, feeling like I can't be creative and I can't express myself or show my creativity to anyone. Um, when I was turning 30, I really noticed a shift in myself and my confidence, and just feeling like I'm done with the 20s. I want to move on to being 30. I want to enjoy this authentic decade. And I purposely put myself out there. So I did like a theatre performance, which was really quite worrying and terrifying. I didn't know whether I'd remember all my lines, but I did. And again, I put myself out there. I also wrote some poetry, and I did share some of my poems with some family members, so that they could see some of my poems. And again, that's just me being vulnerable. And even creating this podcast, I started this last year when I was really on that push of, this is it now. I'm just going to be my authentic self, and I'm not going to really care what other people think. Obviously, we always do a little bit, but I'm not going to really care what people think. I just want to do what I want to do, and that I am good enough. So it's been really healing for me to kind of recognize the insecurities that I've had as a child, that I've been carrying, that I've carried with me all these years, and to finally just go, right, okay, I don't feel that way anymore. I don't want to hold that anymore. I'm going to push through this and do something purposely to overcome this. And that gave me a lot of confidence. As well with like my legs, like shaving my legs and my legs being white and pasty or whatever. I really don't give a crap, to be honest. I will show my legs. It doesn't bother me whatsoever now. It doesn't matter how pale I am. If I want to get them out, I'll get them out. And even with hairy legs, so like I actually experimented because of my insecurity with having hair and needing to shave all the time from being young right up until being an adult, right? because of that, I really sort of thought, you know what? I've never even grown out my hairs. I don't know what I look like with full grown hair. So I left it 6 months, which you're probably thinking, oh my God, you must have been freaking Chewbacca. And I was Chewbacca, right? I left it 6 months. I thought, I'm going to accept myself and love myself. I'm going to purposely do something that I was fighting against all these years and it caused me so much insecurity. So I grew out my leg hairs, I grew out my armpit hairs. I left my pubic hairs there, right? Didn't shave them. I did trim them though, I must admit, I had to trim them, but I didn't trim my armpit hairs or my leg hairs. And honestly, at first it was very strange and weird. And then I just kind of grew to love it. I was like, this is great. Like, this is natural. Like, I'm embracing my natural self. And at the time, I was single. And this is really, really crazy for me because basically went on a dating app and I thought, well, I'm growing out my hairs and I wanted to do it for at least 6 months. And I thought, well, how can I go on a date? Because I'm going to have to shave. And I thought, no, I'm not going to shave. So I purposely put on my profile that I'm like growing my hairs out because I want to, see what it's like. I'm curious and I want to accept myself basically. Um, and there was a weird creep who did sort of say, "Oh, if you shave, then I would," and it's like, no. But there was a guy that I did. In fact, I met up with a couple of guys, um, and one of them I actually showed him my hairiness, and he didn't say anything about it. He might have been a bit shocked, but he didn't say anything. And the fact that I freaking did that, like, showed another guy my vulnerabilities, my hairy legs, my hairy armpits, and my vagina, right? Um, Not easy, but I did it. And I thought, I feel so brave doing that. And I do shave now, but I don't shave that much. So during the winter months, sometimes I won't bother shaving my legs. And then I think, oh, fair enough. It's been a few months. I'll just shave. But my boyfriend is amazing. He's absolutely supportive of me sort of being really authentic and real in who I am. And, he doesn't care if I shave, but he's more than happy for me to be hairy as well. It's like, it just doesn't bother him. But even if it did, I just wouldn't really care because I'm at a good place in myself. So that's definitely helped me heal those sort of, all those times I've been really insecure about those aspects in my life. So that kind of brings me on to the tips on how to overcome insecurity. So I hope that you can see that through my experiences, right? Yes, some of them lasted for years, literally years from being a child right up until early adulthood. And a big, big thing to do is to literally just do the thing you're fighting against. Purposely do something that makes you feel uncomfortable, that forces that insecure feeling to arise. Because when you get through it on the other side, you just have more confidence in yourself, and you can feel really proud of yourself for doing it. Sometimes before that, you do need that sort of initial self acceptance, which obviously I needed a lot of that as well. So, making sure that you are reading those self help books that are good reminders of, how we should be treating ourselves and just how humans generally interact and think, and just to kind of reassure yourself on that point. But also, just listening to feel good songs, doing something that makes you feel good, um, can really lift your spirits. And doing positive affirmations as well really helped me. So I used to stick loads of sticky notes around the flat. And read them out quite a lot. And that's when I was like listening to all these positive songs as well. And that was massive in helping me overcome my insecurity in 2015. And now I'm able to be happy in myself, but also happy in a relationship and feel good in a relationship. So yeah, I would definitely do those things. Affirmations, positive sort of music, listening to some self-help stuff or reading some good self-help books, and purposely doing something to kind of counteract, okay, the insecure stuff that you've been feeling. Do something that makes you feel uncomfortable and push through it. And honestly, when you come out the other end, you're going to feel freaking great. So just know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. If you are listening to this, whatever age you are, it does not matter. You can absolutely let go of those insecurities that are holding you back. So it is a journey. Be patient with yourself. I hope that this has made you feel like you're not alone, and that it's absolutely possible to overcome it. So thank you so much for listening. Remember, stay true to you, and hopefully I'll see you soon.